So we have a problem. The United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples states that Indigenous people have the right to self-determination, and in exercising this right, they have the right to autonomy or self-government. But what's actually happening? My name is Isaias Hernandez, and this is Queer Brown Vegan. My platform is to bring you environmental education that's focusing on intersectional issues rather than ignoring them. If you like what you see here, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe because it helps grow my channel and bring you more educational content. Here's exactly what the UN Declaration has to say. Article 3. Indigenous peoples have the right to self-determination. By virtue of that right, they freely determine their political status and freely pursue their economic, social, and cultural development. And the second one, Article 4, states that Indigenous peoples, in exercising their right to self-determination, have the right to autonomy or self-government in matters relating to their internal and local affairs, as well as ways and means for financing their autonomous functions. Indigenous autonomy, the right to self-governance, has been determined to be a right of all Indigenous peoples, and this is a great thing for humanity. Indigenous lifestyles contain solutions to climate change because they know how to live in harmony with the land. For example, Indigenous knowledge, cultures, and traditional practices contribute greatly to caring for the Amazon rainforest. Science has proven that Indigenous peoples who have the rights to their lands are the most effective stewards of tropical forests, which regulate the climate of the entire planet. This has been their work for generations, and their cultures depend upon it to thrive. That's a big deal. Failing to protect Indigenous autonomy of ecosystems or on the earth and the stability of our climate, the most effective solution is to protecting these forests is to uphold Indigenous sovereignty, protect and defend lives and territories, and support and amplify Indigenous-led solutions for forest conservation. So how do US financial institutions fit into the degradation of Indigenous autonomy, in turn furthering climate instability? The world's largest banks, for example, like Citibank, Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan Chase, HSBC, as well as the international insurance companies and other financial products for the oil drilling industry, is in the Amazon rainforest despite their climate-friendly commitments. One specific example is that these institutions have contradicted climate pledges by providing money to the government-run oil company Peru. They've ignored all the catastrophe, environmental, and social impacts of the most biodiverse ecosystems in the planet, making it harder to mitigate climate dysregulation and furthering the climate crisis. Peru's operations have caused long-term environmental damage in the Peruvian Amazon, affecting the surrounding communities that depend on nature to survive. The operation of the oil company's old and deteriorated North Peruvian pipeline caused more than 94 oil spills between 2001 and 2019, destroying the surrounding flora and fauna. Furthermore, from its inception, Peru's activities severely threatens impacted Indigenous people's right to free, prior, and informed consent, ignoring express opposition to the extraction, signaling that they were not consulted as required by law. And additionally, leaders from these communities face increased threats for the ongoing resistance against extractivism in their ancestral lands, which is entirely messed up when you're trying to protect your home. In response to Peru's flagrant disregard of human and Indigenous rights and the environment, communities have created the Mar Amazonia Alliance, which is composed of artisanal fishing guilds that live on the north coast of Peru, impacted by existing and former sites of offshore oil drilling, as well as 3 indigenous nations from the Peruvian Amazon: the autonomous territorial government of the Wampis Nation, the Achuar people, and of the Patasa River, and the Chapra nations, whose lands are now imminent danger of oil exploitation by Peru. All communities of the Mar Amazonia Alliance have suffered the impacts of toxic oil contamination spanning decades, which has yet to be recognized or compensated for by the state. The Mar Amazonia Alliance recently sent a letter to the world's largest US banks warning them against giving $1 billion of new financing for Petroperú's on top of the company's existing debt for its Talada refinery. JP Morgan Chase and Citi, 2 of the largest financiers of fossil fuels across the planet, were linked to this potential financing. As Petroperus grows more desperate for cash to sustain itself, the alliance seeks to meet again within the banks at the end of April with higher-ranking executives who hold more decision-making power. In solidarity with the indigenous nations and the broader Mar Amazonia alliance, please join in sending a message to the banks in support of indigenous nations demanding an end to the financing of Amazon destruction. Indigenous peoples' lands rights and autonomy must be respected in order to protect our planet. I'll leave a link in the description below. Thanks for watching, and be sure to like the video, send a message, leave a comment with something you learned, and subscribe to the channel if you like what you saw.